My fear is that it's great that PNCIMA is being funded, but once the First Nations come to the local offices into Vancouver trying to work on aspects of their marine use plans, we don't have the staff to do that. We've got lots of staff talking about this right now, but we have nothing to address what may be coming in the next 2 years with regards to smaller things they'd like implemented with regards to their marine use plan, what starts at the local level. Like, it's small local things they may want to be doing, but there's not an extra body in our office to help implement marine use planning things with the First Nations. It's not that we don't want to, we just don't have enough people necessarily. So as important as this is, and it needs to be done, it's seeing yourself within it. And I know that's what you're asking people right now. Where do you see yourself? How can you see yourself? Until I was tasked to work with Ken on figuring out their work plan, and if it dealt with anything that I knew our Central Coast group did, and at first it didn't. So I had to wait to see what they were interested in, to see where I could work with them. And it's evolved over 2 years, but it's 2 years. And how many years were you working on it before I even?
1 year. The communities have been at it 3 years.
3 years. So, but you've had funding for more than that within Turning Point. So again, it's just something that came from above. It's really hard to absorb at the local level. So again, there's just going to be maybe a disconnect for the next little while. It's not that you shouldn't be asking the questions. It's just that it's not quite so easy to see at first.
Okay, Ken.
I understand the planning office, is that what you call it? And Ken, you're part of that, you travel around and you've been working with First Nations. But if some of the stuff was passed down on the web, or somebody was responsible to download it and get it out, we could have maybe members of that community, who like Ken, actually, who's traveling quite a bit, actually set up a meeting and come and explain some of that stuff so that we can have, and maybe a facilitator come in. So that you're always actually having the meetings here to get the information back out. But we have some connection with that broader group that can explain to us certain interpretations, certain aspects, certain objectives so that we remain focused, and or the assurance that, yes, what we say is actually going to be listened to, it's actually going to be taken into account. I think that's the biggest problem when you're working from a divorced position, an isolated position, I should say. And that might work very well. And again, the funding issue. I mean, you have to, we can talk about these things, but there needs to be that commitment to be able to fund some small technologies and some travel for people to come in. And again, our participation to send somebody from the community out to be on these bigger boards.
Well, I think made it abundantly clear that strengthening the human capacity to facilitate Lobelco's involvement in PNCIMA is essential. And you got to have the human capacity first, and then the other things are going to flow. Whether it's how to fix the internet problem, or which parts to engage in. It is now getting close to 9 o'clock.
How close are we to the end of the question?
We've actually covered all. We've covered all the questions.
Just one point. I just wanted to make a message. First Nations have hired technical people to help us, to work with us on to assist us, provide advice, to give us some direction on how to put this together for ourselves, with our own voice in that document. And that's what we're looking for in terms of engagement. Your voice is in here, in this by OAC advisory committee. Sort of it's in there. And I guess one of the things that I hear you saying is that we've gone through some of the things you've been talking about right now in terms of engagement and having that discussion on it through our marine use planning. So we're in that process right now. And it's interesting to watch you have some discussion about how you're going to get engaged in this process while it's interesting to see the discussion that you're having, how you can become involved, and how you can become, how your voice can be heard, hopefully disseminated into the whole scheme of things in terms of your interest, your area. Yeah. So, and I also want to make sure that even though I sit on this part of the table representing First Nations, Coola, Rikina, Hilsuk, and Kiddusik, I'm also hearing what you guys are saying. And I heard a couple of things here that I will bring forward. I hope that the representative, and you know who the representative is on that steering committee. Maybe that wasn't made clear enough then. Alex, who that representative was.
The for DFO, you mean?
That's right. That sits on the steering committee.
Rebecca Reed.
Yeah. And who's representing her
Here.
at this meeting?
Well, I mean, I guess the closest you could come to having someone representing Rebecca would be myself and Hillary. But if you're interested in the broader composition of the steering committee, I can quickly summarize it for you. So, from DFO, Rebecca Reed, who's the regional director of Oceans Habitat and Enhancement, which is a branch within DFO, is the chair of that committee. There's a representative from Environment Canada. His name is Alan Borum. He's the director of strategic policy initiatives. He did.
I think
He did.
I was just like, wait a
I
second.
recognize that name, yeah.
From Parks Canada, it's Richard Carson, who's the director for the NMCA work, the National Marine Conservation Area work Parks Canada does. From Natural Resources Canada, it's a fellow named Sean Roberts. And then there are 4 First Nations members, one of which is Alex from the Central Coast. And from Haida Gwaii, there's Trevor Russ. From the North Coast, Bruce Watkinson, who's the executive director of the North Coast Skeena First Nation Stewardship Society. And the 4th member is well, it's not really a member, it's actually an observer, someone from the Nanocolas Council, which is an organization based on Northern Vancouver Island, works with a number of Northern Vancouver Island and adjacent mainland locations. So we're still determining who that person will be. It's likely going to be Dallas Smith, but that's not yet confirmed. There's some work to be done before that all comes together.
And also there's one more. There's the Michigan. Also have a weight table. I don't know. It's similar to Long Island.
The Nishka are not currently an active participant on the steering committee, but that's not to say that DFO isn't looking to fulfill its responsibilities in terms of engaging the Nishka in this initiative. So that will also be a part of the discussions we have. Figuring out how to engage with the audience.
Maybe other. Says we're one of,
No, there's only one PNCIMA, but you mean large ocean management.
Yeah.
Right, so the Oceans Action Plan, which is a piece of policy from 2005, identified 5 large ocean management areas. PNCIMA is the one on the Pacific coast. There's one in the Arctic, on Beaufort Sea, and there are 3 on the East Coast.
How'd they get 3 and we got 1?
I
Not
don't know.
that I'm being
There are more. There are more
Because they're-
regions. There's one in
Yes,
one in
that's right.
each region.
okay.
So there's one in Newfoundland. There's one, there's one in Atlantic, and there's one in Gulf St. Lawrence.
Ken,